Before I introduce her, I just would like to say that I've known Loretta probably for about 7 or 8 months. It seems like everywhere we went, every networking group we were in, we were always going, oh, you're here again. You're here again. And I really got to know her one night when I put out an invitation to attend a ladies' bunco night at my church. And I didn't think that anybody had showed up. And it turns out I got a bunco one night. And then Loretta says, oh, is this the Elizabeth that invited me? And I said, oh, are you the Loretta that was going to come? And so that was when we really got together and talking in the parking lot late one night. But now I'd like to introduce Loretta, who is going to talk to us about how to expand your branding and imaging through embroidery. So now let's give her all a big round of applause and get her up here.
You would like to get more visibility for your business?
Absolutely.
And how many would like more recognition for your brand? And how many of you don't care if you have more recognition or visibility? No one, good. So I want to thank you for being here tonight. There's a lot of other places you could be. You could be home cozying up by the fire and staying out of the rain. I want to thank the GNA for this opportunity to share my passion with you. So my name is Loretta, and I'm the owner of Image Expressions Custom Embroidery. And I'm hoping that all my slides are going to be in order tonight. And since we're going to spend the next 30 or 40 minutes together, is it okay if I share a little bit about my background?
Hot water?
Before we do that, though, tonight we're going to, before I share about who I am and my background, tonight this is what we're going to learn about increasing brand visibility and recognition by your customers. The process from start to finish, JPEG, which is digital image, to custom embroidered apparel. We're going to use silk screening instead of embroidery. So, as a young girl, I spent a lot of time watching my mom sew, and she always had something going on, and she spent a lot of time and a lot of years making clothes for my sisters and I. I have 2 sisters. So we had play clothes and school clothes, and even this here swimming suit. My mom made that for me when I was young. I was probably about 12. She made us matching Easter outfits every year for a number of years till I was kind of in high school.
You didn't learn magic?
No. And I tried to get a picture of us together, but it wasn't available. So since I had such an interest in sewing, watching my mom all the time, they thought it would be a good idea to get me my first little sewing machine. So this is kind of what it looked like. It was blue. And I'm not sure that this is the exact model, but it was pretty close. It had no bobbin. It would jam up all the time, and the stitches were a chain stitch. So when you pulled on it, it would come out. Since there was no bobbin, there was nothing to link underneath. So it was a little bit frustrating since it didn't work real well, and it always tangled. So a few years later, they got me my first Singer sewing machine.
Ooh. That's an upgrade, huh?
It was an upgrade. Now this sewing machine, it ran off of batteries, and it also had a hand crank, and it also had a power cord. And it had a bobbin, so it would sew stitches that wouldn't pull out when you pulled on the end. So It was actual real stitches. So my early sewing years, I used to make Barbie doll clothes, and my first clothes that I made for the Barbie weren't even actually sewn. They were just fabric, cut armholes in it, cut a strap, and then wrap it around and tie it. That was the first clothes. When I was in Girl Scouts, we made drawstring duffel bags. And then I had a grandmother who taught me how to hand embroider. So this goes way back to my childhood. And then by the time I got in junior high school, I had to take home economics. Who remembers home economics in junior high? How many of you were required to take home economics? Those of us who are a little bit older. I had to take wood shop or auto shop. So my first clothing that I sewed for myself was this skirt. And it looked like this. It had an elastic waistband. It was just a straight piece of fabric, just one seam up the back, a hem in it, and an elastic casing. Nothing fancy, no darts, nothing else. But the fabric that I used, it was dark brown with these flowers, similar to what's on the background of this.
F5.
Similar to what's on the background of my screen here. Had these big old daisy flowers. And those of you who are back going to school in the 70s, it was flower power. Some of you may remember that. So by the time I got to high school, I started making my own clothes. My mom wasn't making too many of my clothes. I made this furry jacket when I was in high school. I made this skirt. I started doing hand embroidery, and I was also doing needlepoint. If it had a needle and thread or yarn, I was all over it. A year after I graduated from high school, I purchased this machine, and it was my first electronic sewing machine. So, I have a question for you. What do you get when you combine homemade clothing with hand embroidery? Anybody know? This is what you get. So, when I was in high school, I was making Western shirts, dresses, whatever. This one happened to be a Western shirt, and I was doing car logos, embroidering on them. So I had the MG and a 240Z, and then on the back, Camaro. I'll pass this around. So that has stood up to the test of time, and that's my first embroidery. So fast forward about 20 years, and my love of embroidery and sewing and my love of computers collided. And I went to this quilting and sewing festival and saw this embroidery machine. It was a Brother Home embroidery machine. And it was sitting there all by itself going like this while this piece was embroidering. And I was fascinated. It's like, wow, nobody needs to be supervising it. It's just going by itself. I'm thinking, wow, I could be doing laundry, taking care of the kids, eating dinner, and making something at the same time. And so I saw that as like, I have to have one of those. Has anybody ever seen something that you just had to have? Yeah. Well, I had to have one of those. So about a year later, I purchased this machine. And my early projects with this machine is I started embroidering gifts for Christmas, blankets, and you name it, I was embroidering it. And then my kids were in baseball, so I started putting the names on the back of their hats. And so when they're sitting there all on the bench, you can see, oh, there's my kid, there's somebody else's kid. So that's where I started with that. About 5 years later, I got this machine. It's my first commercial machine. And this machine has several needles, so I can put lots of different threads on there and not have to stop and change the thread. For the first one, every time there was a thread color change, I had to change it.
That's a commercial sewing machine?
That's a commercial embroidery machine.
Oh, right.
So within the next year, I acquired these two machines right here, which are the same model. And then I also met Jenny, who's been an amazing power partner in 2004. And then I traded in this Embroidery up here. And in 2008, I got this SWF machine. So the Embroidery up here was a 12 needle machine. The SWF is a 15 needle machine. So I upgraded, and then it holds a bigger hoop as well. And then in 2010, I was so busy that I was just going crazy because I couldn't get things done fast enough. So I added another machine.
Wow.
So what I have now is 4 commercial machines, and I do thousands of pieces every year. We have hundreds of clients, customers. Some of my happy customers are the Lions Club, KFC, Taco Bell, Harmon Management, Rock Restaurant in Sunnyvale. Jenny is one of my satisfied clients. Lakewood Pony Baseball, the Tour de Cure, Sunnyvale Retirement Center, Bear Valley Lodge, Five Guys Sushi for Honkies.
Sushi.
So I'll go right here. Let's see what else.
Five Guys Sushi for honkies. Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Wow.
Sushi, and then the chopsticks and the knife make the 4 honkies.
Am I a honky?
I'm not sure. I'm not responsible for the name.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I just did the embroidery.
That's great. That's great branding.
I have clients in the U.S., across the U.S., Alaska, Mexico, and Canada. So that's a little bit about me. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, so brand visibility and recognition. Do your customers know who you are? So how many of you feel like your business is invisible when speaking with clients? And how many of you have had difficulty identifying the store staff from other customers in places where you shop? How many of you have been at a trade show and realized that you just don't stand out from the crowd wearing your regular street clothes? And how many of you know of businesses that employees just don't have that professional image?
Yep.
Especially nowadays, that's changed a lot. All right, so the definition of building brand recognition, excuse me. Brand recognition is the extent to which the consumer can correctly identify a particular product or service just by viewing the product or service's logo, tagline, packaging, or advertising campaign. Brand recognition requires the consumer to recall prior knowledge. In order to build brand recognition, an organization must repeatedly provide consumers with a consistent visual or auditory learning experience. So why personal workwear without the added word? Or logo wear, apparel, wearing apparel. Has many names. So a company can increase brand awareness with promotional embroidered workwear at a minimal cost. If you were to set up an advertising budget, you'd spend a lot more money. Just getting that logo on your clothing is going to be low cost. It creates a sense of unity among the staff. So when you've got your staff all wearing the same logo, they feel more like a team in a unit. When your customers come in, they can identify who's the staff and who's not. And then when the customers interact with your staff, they register your brand name in their mind and will remember you. So again, it's that visibility. So the next thing I want to do is take you through the process, starting from JPEG to finished product. And a lot of people have never seen the embroidery machine, so it's quite fascinating to watch this process. So hopefully I don't lose you and just kind of follow along.